My name is Chloe Parker. I stood in front of the chipped mirror in my cramped hallway, adjusting the hem of a dress I had bought for $30 at the clearance rack in downtown Oakland. It was synthetic navy blue with that cheap sheen that screamed mass production under the naked bulb. I was 33, and tonight I was walking into the lion's den wearing the costume of the perfect underdog. Outside my thin window, the sounds of East Oakland pulsed, sirens, bass from car stereos, life that didn't give a damn about manicured lawns or 2.5-inch grass heights. My apartment was tiny, peeling linoleum, clanking radiator. To anyone looking in, I was exactly what I appeared to be, a junior risk consultant at a boring little firm, driving a dented 10-year-old sedan, clipping coupons, living paycheck to paycheck. Or at least that was the Chloe Parker the Pinecrest Estates HOA board was supposed to see. I walked to the kitchen. On the counter sat a tin of homemade oatmeal raisin cookies I'd baked that afternoon, lopsided, imperfect, packed in a reused holiday tin. The kind of warm, domestic gesture a struggling fiancé brings when she has more time than money. I knew the moment that tin crossed the threshold of the Whitlock mansion, it would be dissected like evidence in a compliance hearing. A knock. Cameron Whitlock, my fiancée, stepped in looking like a diamond dropped in a gutter. At 28, she had that natural elegance money polishes but can't buy. Tonight, her shoulders were tight, eyes frantic. "We need to leave in 10 minutes, she said, checking her watch. "If we're late, my mother will take it as a personal insult." I offered the tin and a reassuring smile. "It's just a board dinner. Come, breathe." "It's never just a board dinner," she snapped. "You don't know them. Gordon and Karen Whitlock don't host dinners. They hold tribunals with appetizers. They've been asking about your lineage, your assets, your compliance score for weeks. They keep mentioning the Sterling family. They keep talking about legacy standards." I placed my hands on her shoulders. "Let them ask. I'm a risk consultant making $65,000. Parents were teachers. I love their daughter. That's the dossier." Cameron's voice dropped to a whisper. "They have someone else in mind. Vivian Sterling. Perfect lawn, perfect car, perfect donations. They want me to ally with her for the association's future." She gripped my hand until it hurt. "If something happens tonight, if I say things that hurt you, don't believe everything I'm forced to say. My mother has leverage. If I push back, it's survival. Promise me you won't let them make you feel small." I nodded, playing the supportive, oblivious partner. We took her sleek black sedan, worth more than 5 years of my building's rent, and drove north. The concrete gave way to rolling hills and perfect green lawns. Pinecrest Estates, the gated utopia where every blade of grass is measured and every resident is judged. The Whitlock mansion emerged like a monument to control. Fountains, statues, security guard at the door. Karen Whitlock, president of the Pinecrest HOA, stepped out with Gordon beside her. She was petite, razor sharp, pearls heavy enough to anchor a yacht. Her smile was polite, but her eyes performed a full compliance scan. Scuffed heels, cheap fabric, no jewelry. "Chloe," she said, voice dripping honeyed condescension. "Cameron has told us some things." I extended my hand. Karen let it hang for 2 full seconds before shaking it once. Dismissively, her gaze dropped to the tin. "And what is this?" "I bake cookies," I said brightly. "Oatmeal raisin, family recipe. Thought it would be nice to bring something personal." Karen's lips curled. "How rustic." She snapped her fingers at the staff. "Take this to the kitchen. Perhaps the help can find a use for it." She turned to Cameron. "You look tired, darling. That commute from the city is draining. You really should stay here more often, where standards are maintained." Inside, the foyer echoed like a museum. We reached the dining room. Long mahogany table set for 5. Gordon at one end, Karen at the other. Cameron's place, my place, and an extra chair right next to Cameron. complete with crystal and silver. My stomach tightened. Karen gestured. Please sit. I pointed at the empty seat. Voice small. Are we expecting someone else? I thought it was just family. Karen's smile sharpened. We are always open to possibilities. Chloe. Tonight we felt it was important to have a complete table. Someone who understands our world will be joining us shortly. The first course arrived, chilled cucumber soup tasting of dill and superiority. Karen began the inquisition without looking up. So, Chloe, Cameron tells us you're in advising. Yes, ma'am. Oakland Advisory. Risk assessment for small businesses' supply chain. Liquidity. Karen repeated 65,000 like it was a punchline. And your people? The Parker lineage? Teachers? Ma'am. Retired in Sacramento. Teachers, she sighed theatrically. How noble. No uncles on the board. No grandparents endowing wings at Stanford. It's just that we've always imagined Cameron settling down with someone who understands our world. This is a small world. Chloe, everyone knows everyone. When you come from nowhere, it's very hard to navigate HOA standards. Cameron's hand twitched. I try to speak their language. Actually, speaking of navigating complex worlds, I read about the challenges Pinecrest is facing with the new state compliance regulations. Karen cut me off with a laugh sharp enough to slice crystal. Oh, stop it. Dear, don't try to talk shop. It's dreadfully boring. She turned to Gordon. Did you hear the Sterlings are donating a new fountain? We should put in a bid, just for the prestige. Then the heavy doors opened. Click, click, click of confident heels. Vivian Sterling glided in, tall. Silver dress like liquid money. Blonde waves. Predatory red lips. She sat in the empty chair right next to Cameron, so close their arms brushed. The symmetry was restored. Beautiful people on one side. The mistake isolated at the far end. Karen beamed. Vivian, darling. Gordon raised his glass. Before the next course, I have an announcement. Difficult times call for strong alliances. Tonight, we are celebrating the future to the strategic partnership between Pinecrest HOA and Sterling Elite Properties, and to the engagement of my daughter Cameron to Vivian Sterling, a union that will secure our property values and standards for the next 50 years. The words landed like a gavel. Cameron shot up. No. Karen placed her spoon down with a delicate clink. Love is charming in novels. Darling. But love does not maintain a legacy. Love does not keep assessments paid. You have a duty to this association. I sat frozen at the end of the table, 10 feet away, watching them dismantle my life while discussing fines and fountain donations as if I were already gone. Vivian leaned in, hand on Cameron's forearm. You understand, don't you, Chloe? Cameron belongs in this world. She needs someone who can stand beside her at the helm. Not someone she has to drag along. Karen stood. I think it's time for a readjustment. She signaled the butler. Remove this setting. Move Miss Parker to the very end. She is no longer a guest of honor. She is barely a guest at all. I walked the mile-long table to the far end. They ignored me completely. After 10 minutes of one-sided conversation, Karen waved her hand. Get her out of here. She's ruining the appetite. 2 private security guards appeared. Miss Parker, if you would please come with us. They marched me out. The iron gates clanged shut behind me. I stood on the dark road in my cheap dress, clutching my purse, miles from anywhere. I dialed Cameron. Elise, Karen, answered. Go home. Chloe, go back to your little apartment. Forget you ever met a Whitlock. One more call, and I'll make sure you never work in compliance again. I know the partners at Oak Lane. One word from me, and you're toxic. She hung up. But Karen Whitlock had just made the fatal error every HOA bully eventually makes. She thought she was threatening a terrified employee. She didn't know she was talking to the woman who secretly owned the management company that held every lien, every contract, and every financial secret of Pinecrest HOA. I opened my contacts and scrolled to a number I hadn't dialed in 6 months. My personal assistant at Parker Line Capital. The fire was lit. They wanted a war over grass height and cookie approval. They were about to learn the poor girl in the cheap dress owned the bank that held the mortgage on their entire kingdom. The first 72 hours after that dinner were a blur of gray ceilings and cold coffee. I didn't leave my apartment. Every time the refrigerator hummed, I flinched, half expecting Cameron's key. It never came. By day 3, the shock curdled into cold rage. I opened social media. The first post, Gordon and Karen Whitlock smiling beside Vivian and a hollow-eyed Cameron at a charity auction. Caption, 2 families. 1 future, strategic partnership secured. Cameron's smile was painted on. Her eyes were dead. I threw the phone down. It was time to tell the truth, not to them, but to the mirror. I am not a junior risk consultant making $65,000. I do not clip coupons. My name is Chloe Parker, and I am the founder and managing partner of Parker Line Capital. The boring little firm I supposedly work for, I own it. It's a shell. The real work happens in a nondescript San Francisco office where I manage a private credit fund with over $400 million in assets under management. I buy distressed HOA debt. I restructure non-compliant associations. I am the vulture the boards fear when the fines stop flowing and the lawsuits start. I built my anonymity on purpose. When I was 12, my father's flashy real estate empire collapsed overnight. Repo men took everything. I learned that money displayed is money taken. So I became a ghost, millions in the shadows, living like a pauper in the light. Then I met Cameron. I wanted her to love the woman who baked imperfect cookies, not the portfolio. But now that silence had cost me everything. I needed to see her. I called a rideshare and paid the driver $300 cash to take me to Pinecrest. At the gate, I pressed the intercom. Chloe Parker for Cameron Whitlock. Miss Parker, you have been issued a trespass warning. Leave immediately or we call the sheriff. I was about to turn away when I saw movement at the service gate. Margot, the head housekeeper. She rushed over. Nervous. Miss Chloe, you can't be here. Mrs. Karen is watching everything. Is she okay? She's not eating. They took her phone, her laptop. She's locked in her room unless she's with Miss Sterling. It's terrible. Margot slipped a crumpled gas station receipt through the bars. She told me if you came, to give you this. She said it was trash. On the back, in shaky pen, she did not betray you. Blue Lantern. To anyone else, it was nonsense. To us, it was our code from the Lantern Festival 3 years ago. Cameron's lantern had been blue. Later it became our signal. I am lost. I am in danger. Come find me. Blue Lantern was also the name of the encrypted digital folder she kept. Every email, every recording, every dirty secret of the Pinecrest board. The despair evaporated. I walked back to the car with purpose. Driver, back to the city. And hand me your charger. I have calls to make. Gordon and Karen Whitlock thought they had removed a pawn. They had just handed the queen the entire chessboard. The next morning, I was already inside the glass-walled conference room on the 42nd floor of the HOA management headquarters. I arrived at 6 a.m. No cheap dress today, bespoke black suit, silk blouse, heels that clicked like a gavel. When the executive team arrived, they found the server room locks changed and a stranger at the head of the table. Who are you? The CFO demanded. My name is Chloe Parker. As of midnight, Parker Line Capital holds controlling interest in the debt structure of Pinecrest HOA and a 38% equity stake in a management contract. I am the acting interim director for the restructuring period. Please sit. We have work to do. I didn't scream. I operated. My team of forensic accountants moved like a silent hit squad. I pulled up the vendor list on the projector. North Star Supply is charging us 40% above market for landscaping maintenance. Who signed this? Silence. It was you. Marcus. And coincidentally, North Star is a subsidiary of Sterling Elite Properties. You're buying services from our rival at premium while our cash flow dies. Escort Marcus out. His badges are deactivated. 2 guards dragged him away screaming about contracts. I handed termination envelopes to the 3 operations managers hired in the last 6 months, all with ties to Sterling. Inside, their emails discussing how to suppress Blue Lantern environmental compliance data and inflate fines on undesirable residents. You can resign citing personal reasons, or I hand these to the state regulator next month. They resigned before their coffee cooled. By noon, the Sterling spies were gone. I addressed the remaining staff, the old guard who had watched Karen's selective enforcement for 20 years. I know you were told the partnership is the only way out. That is a lie. I showed the new financial roadmap. I have injected $20 million in liquid capital. Payroll is met. Vendors who actually work get paid. The free ride is over. We are enforcing rules for everyone, including the board. The cash flow monitor turned from blinking red to steady yellow. We were alive, but stopping the bleeding was only half the battle. I froze all outgoing payments to Sterling Elite and its affiliates. Marked them disputed pending audit. If Vivian Sterling wants her money, she can explain to a judge why she was charging $5 a gallon for premium community water that costs $3 on the open market. My phone rang. Gordon, whispering. She knows. Vivian just called the house screaming. She said you fired her people. She said she's going to destroy you. Let her come, I said. Stay inside. Do not answer the door. 10 minutes later, the first attack landed. Not a lawsuit. A headline, hostile takeover or lover's quarrel? The shadowy figure behind the pine crest shake up. It painted me as an unstable ex using illicit funds to exact revenge. My phone exploded with reporters. I silenced it. Draft 1 press release. Parker Line Capital is focused on operational stability of Pinecrest, HOA. We do not comment on personal rumors. I worked until 9. As I stepped onto the sidewalk, a black sedan waited. A man in a cheap suit handed me a thick envelope. You've been served. It wasn't just a lawsuit. It was a subpoena from the state HOA regulatory board alleging insider trading and market manipulation, claiming I used confidential information from my relationship with Cameron to acquire debt at suppressed value. Vivian didn't want to beat me in the boardroom. She wanted me in handcuffs. I laugh a low, dangerous sound. She thought this paper would stop me. She forgot one thing. I had the Blue Lantern files. I didn't call my corporate lawyers. I called Daniel Vance, a family law specialist famous for tearing apart abusive guardianships. I brought the affidavit Gordon and Karen had signed under duress the night before, admitting they had coerced Cameron into the engagement. Strong, Vance said, but we need corroboration from the victim herself. We crafted a trap. We invited Vivian Cameron to a private mediation framed as my surrender. I was supposedly overwhelmed by the subpoena and willing to sell my stake back for a premium. Vivian's greed was her blind spot. If she thought she could buy me out before the annual gala, she would come, and she would bring Cameron because she needed her signature. At 4 p.m., the door opened. Vivian entered first, victorious in white suit. Cameron followed, thin, pale, shadows under her eyes, movement stiff like a puppet. She kept her eyes on the floor. Well, Chloe, Vivian purred. I must say I'm surprised. I thought you'd have more fight. But the regulatory subpoena was quite the reality check, wasn't it? I slid the Blue Lantern sabotage emails across the table. This is proof of corporate sabotage, deliberate inflation of fines on low-income residents to force sales, kickbacks from Sterling vendors, conspiracy to devalue association assets, federal crime, Vivian. Then I slid the transcript of the hidden recording Margot had sent, Vivian threatening Cameron with increased medication and prison for me if she didn't sign. And this is proof of medical coercion and extortion. Vivian went pale. Cameron stared at the transcript, trembling. You drugged me. You locked me in my room. You made me read those scripts. I spoke softly. Cameron, you are not alone. Your parents signed an affidavit admitting coercion. You are safe. Tell the truth right now. You do not want this engagement. Cameron stood, chair clattering. I'm not unstable. I was coerced. I want to go home. Vivian slammed the table. You ungrateful. But her lawyer was already packing files. Vivian, we need to leave. She stood, smoothing her suit. You think this is over? The gala is tomorrow. The board is still loyal to money. I am giving you an ultimatum. Cameron, you will walk on that stage, sign the partnership documents, and smile. If you don't, I release the press release naming you co-conspirator and fraud. You will lose everything. She walked out. Cameron collapsed, sobbing. I knelt beside her. We aren't hiding. Come. We're going to that gala. But she won't be the one giving the speech. The next morning, Vivian held a press conference claiming I was a predator who misrepresented myself to prey on Cameron. I released the dinner tapes through Parker Line Capital's official channel. Every insult, every sand metaphor, every cold calculation. Within 20 minutes, the narrative shattered. The world heard Karen call me sand and say love doesn't feed an empire. They heard Vivian laugh while I was dragged out. Gordon called, voice ragged. The board is revolting. 2 members resigned. We're a public relations nightmare. I'm not destroying your reputation. Gordon, I'm just turning on the lights. I sent the Blue Lantern environmental files. Proof the board had suppressed illegal construction data and hidden violations to protect Sterling kickbacks to the state regulator and EPA. Sterling stock dropped 7% by noon. At 2 p.m., my acquisitions head burst in. They pulled the trigger. Sterling just demanded accelerated repayment of $40 million by 5 today. They're trying to force default and bankruptcy, so the partnership happens automatically. I picked up the phone. This is Chloe Parker. Refresh your ledger. Look at the transaction that cleared 10 minutes ago. Redwood Distressed Assets, me, bought the Sterling position this morning. I now own 60% of that tranche. As majority creditor, I am formally waiving the acceleration clause. There is no default. The association is solvent. The banker stammered. Sterling will be furious. Tell them if they have a problem, they can file a complaint with the board. Oh wait, I'm on the board now. I caught the bullet with my bare hand. Vivian had fired her kill shot and it bounced off. That night, I was back in my apartment staring at city lights when my phone buzzed. Block number. You think you blocked every exit, but I still have the original trust documents. If that partnership doesn't happen tomorrow, I trigger a dormant liability clause. The entire estate, the house, the land, personal assets, it all goes to creditors. To me, you have a choice. Lose the association or watch Cameron lose her home and her parents end up on the street. I typed back one word, try it. She wanted to burn everything down. I had survived the bottom before. If she wanted flames, I would roast marshmallows over them, but I was not letting her own Cameron. The Crescent Bay Resort Ballroom was a cathedral of glass and steel perched over the Pacific. 500 of the West Coast's most influential residents gathered under crystal chandeliers for the Pinecrest HOA annual gala. The night the partnership was supposed to be signed and Cameron paraded as a trophy. I arrived 20 minutes late in the black tuxedo I hadn't worn in years. No limousine. I slipped through the side entrance like catering staff and stood in the shadows near the kitchen doors. Vivian was on stage in crimson silk, gripping the microphone. Tonight, we are not just signing a contract. We are saving our community standards. Polite, terrified applause. She gestured. Please welcome my future father-in-law, Gordon Whitlock. Gordon looked like a man walking to the gallows. Karen stood behind him, pale. Beside her, Cameron in the forced red dress, eyes fixed on nothing. Gordon approached the podium. The documents and gold pen waited. Vivian whispered. Sign it. I stepped out of the shadows. My heels clicked down the center aisle, deliberate, rhythmic. Heads turned. A murmur rolled forward like a wave. Gordon froze. Pen hovering. Vivian's eyes narrowed. She laughed into the microphone. Well, look who decided to crash the party. Did you bring more cookies, Chloe? Or are you here to beg for a compliance waiver? The crowd tittered nervously. I stopped directly in front of the stage. I didn't bring cookies. Vivian, I brought a calculator. I raised a single sheet of paper. I'm not trespassing. I own 38% of the management contract and the majority of the association's debt. Under the bylaws, no partnership can be authorized without unanimous vote of primary stakeholders. I vote no. The room gasped. Vivian shrieked. You're lying. You're under investigation. I climbed the stairs onto the stage, took the gold pen from Gordon's hand and capped it. Speaking of investigations, there's one that is very real. I pointed to the double doors. On cue, they swung open. 6 agents in Navy windbreakers marched in, Department of Real Estate Enforcement, and 2 SFPD officers. Vivian Sterling, the lead agent, called. We have a warrant for your arrest regarding suppression of environmental compliance data and conspiracy to defraud investors through inflated HOA fines. Vivian stumbled back, knocking over water. This is a private event. We also have warrants for seizure of all devices associated with Sterling Elite Properties. She grabbed Cameron's arm like a human shield. Tell them to lie. Tell them you're marrying me. Cameron looked down at the bruising grip, then up at the agents, the crowd, and finally at me. She took a deep breath, the first full one in weeks. No, she said, voice clear and strong. I am not marrying you. She reached up and unclasped the heavy diamond necklace. It clattered to the floor. I have not been free for a long time. I was coerced. I was threatened. And I choose freedom. She ripped her arm free. Vivian lunged, face twisted. You ungrateful little. The agents grabbed her. Handcuffs clicked. Vivian screamed primal threats as they dragged her off stage. Red dress tangling. Fallen queen hauled to the dungeon. The room was deadly silent. I adjusted my tuxedo jacket. The partnership is canceled. Please enjoy the buffet. Gordon stepped to the microphone. I have an apology to make. His voice cracked. I almost sold my family to save my pride. I was wrong. He dropped to his knees in front of Cameron. I am so sorry. Karen rushed forward, wrapping her arms around her daughter. The broken family finally starting to heal in the wreckage of their own making. I walked off the stage, down the aisle, and out into the cool night air. I leaned against the stone railing, hands shaking as adrenaline faded. The door opened. Cameron stepped out wearing Gordon's oversized suit jacket over her slip. Barefoot, heels in one hand. She stood beside me. We listened to the waves. Did you really buy 38%? She asked softly. I did. That's a lot of money. It was an investment. I hear the association has good bones, even if the management was a little shaky. She laughed, weak but real. Thank you. I didn't do it for you, I lied. I did it for the portfolio. She took my hand. I'm hungry. I'm starving. We left the resort on foot, leaving lights, sirens, and scandal behind. We ended up at a 24-hour diner called Midnight Oil, vinyl booths held together with duct tape. Waitress who called everyone honey. I was still in tuxedo, Cameron in slip and suit jacket. We looked ridiculous. We'll look perfect. I ordered French fries and a chocolate milkshake. Cameron ordered a burger. When the food came, we ate in silence, savoring grease and freedom. Then she put down her burger. Can we start over? I dipped a fry in the milkshake. No. Come. We can't go back. We aren't the same people. You aren't the girl afraid of her mother anymore. And I'm not the girl hiding her success. I squeeze her hand. We don't start from where you were pushed down. We start from where we stood up. She smiled, genuine, slow. Okay. Start from where we stood up. She raised her milkshake. To the partners. I clinked my glass. To the partners. And as we sat under the buzzing neon, I knew this was the only merger that would ever matter. The wolves were gone. The castle was safe. And the girl with the cookies had finally won. Thank you so much for listening to this HOA Karen story. I would love to know where you are tuning in from today. Are you listening from your car, your kitchen, or maybe relaxing before bed? Please leave a comment below to share your location and your thoughts on Chloe's revenge. If you enjoyed this journey of silent patience turning into total boardroom domination, please subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and smash that notification bell to help more people see what happens when a Karen finally meets her match. Your support means the world.